So I just, happened to stumble upon this story of the Watts family murders that happened in Frederick, Colorado. I had heard about it, back in the day, um, but didn't really pay too much attention to it. I live in Phoenix, Arizona. I make regular trips to Denver, Colorado, but for whatever reason, details of this, um, they escaped me. So I just started doing a lot of research and checking into things, and man, what a crazy story. Crazy in that this guy seemed like he was kind of normal. Um, seemed like a good guy. Seemed like you know, the good neighbor next door you would want. Um, I'm sure a lot of women looked at him as, a good husband material. He had a good job. Looked like he kept himself healthy. Things like that. I saw a video where the poor pregnant wife that was murdered actually mentioned how she was, um, like, basically she felt lucky, like this guy was, God's gift to her, which just made me feel so sad, just after everything that we found out happened. Um, Turns out he was not God's gift. Um, and I'm pretty sure that if she had any inkling that he would even do something like this, that she would have got her butt and got her kids out of that house and moved somewhere safe. Um, so, yeah, I, I just briefly wanted to talk about this. Um, the way that he, you know, ended up murdering his children, that was also just heartbreaking, you know. Um, he smothered them, and not only that, he kept them alive while he went and disposed of the wife's body and kind of just threw the wife's body into a shallow grave like she was a piece of trash. The kids are seeing this, and then he goes back and smothers one of them, goes and takes one and puts the poor little girl into a tank, and the other girl got to see that. And then he comes back, and the poor little thing, um, she basically knew she was gonna die, and her last words are heartbreaking, for her to be saying, "No, daddy," while he goes in to smother her as well. Um, this guy was, I don't know what happened, but he definitely lost it. And I understand that he got sentenced, to 5 life sentences without the possibility of parole, but I really think this guy should be put to death. I mean, the things that he did are just unthinkable. My kids are older now, but when they were younger, there was no way that I could even possibly fathom doing something like this to them. Um, I just, if this guy wanted to go be with his mistress, he should have just left. I mean, it's a tough thing to do, I'm sure, to break up your family and whatnot, but much better option than just murdering your wife and children. Your wife who's pregnant with your, child. Um, they would have been devastated, but they would have been fine. They would have lived. They would have gotten used to the divorce. They would have gotten used to the situation and the scenario, and everything would have moved on. But no, this guy decided to just murder them in cold blood just to get him out of the way so that he could start over with this other woman. It's just a terrible, terrible story. Um, I just don't understand. I just don't understand how anybody could get to this point to do this. So apparently they met on Facebook back in 2010. Um, he sent her a friend request, and she decided to accept it, and fate would have it that was a bad move on her part. Um, she says she was in a bad place, and the guy came in and completely fooled her and convinced her that he was a good guy. Um, they had two daughters, Bella Marie Watts, born in 2013, and Celeste Catherine Watts, called, CC commonly, born July 17th, 2015. Um, those poor little girls. Those poor little girls. She was 15 weeks pregnant with a child named Nico Lee Watts, and her due date was January 31st, 2019, so that baby would already be born and be a little over a year old right now. That's also sad to even think about. She actually came to Arizona, which is where I live, and then returned home for business on August 13, 2018. That was the day that they were later that day they were reported missing by the friend Nicole Atkinson. So everyone should have a friend like Nicole Atkinson that decides that they should pick up on small details. And if it wasn't for her, I think that this guy may have gotten away with this, because she was all over it from the get-go. She noticed things right away, called the police, got everybody on the case. The guy, Chris, did not have any basically time to really clean up his mess and get all the evidence taken care of. Had he been given at least another, who knows, another day, he may have been able to just conceal everything, and there would have been no way for them to pressure him. And I mean, the neighbor did have the video next door, but it didn't exactly show him, pulling the wife's body into the truck or anything like that. So you got to thank that friend Nicole for being Johnny on the spot. She was all over that, all over it. So good for her. And if you look at the way that Chris acted, he basically gave it away himself, in my eyes. When the cops came and they started interviewing him, he just looked like he completely did not care. He completely did not care what was happening. He looked so disconnected. They were asking him questions, and he was just on his phone the entire time, texting. When they were reviewing the video at the neighbor's house, he wouldn't even look at the TV, really. He only looked at it a couple of times, and then went back. He just left the house, not looking concerned at all. To me, that's a big giveaway. If you had your wife and kid missing, your two kids, you would be going crazy, I would think, if you really didn't know what happened to them. The fact that he acted the way he did, it just seemed like he already knew what was going on, or he had an inkling, obviously, and clearly he did. But his whole way just gave it all. It just gave it all away. He was suspect number one from the get-go. So you can see that, I'm kind of reading as I go here. The FBI and the Colorado Bureau of Investigation joined the investigation the next day, August 14th. Chris gave interviews. Yeah, those interviews that he gave outside of his house, he was pleading for his family's return, but the dude looked completely devoid of any emotion. He was just trying to get away with it. Just completely trying to get away with it. So he was arrested late on August 15, 2018. I did watch a video online where they showed him taking the polygraph test. And I think that lady did a great job just making this dude crack, because she basically told him that he's a bad liar. And I think when she said that, that just made him feel like, oh crap, I'm done here. fact that he asked, to see his father before confessing, and then while confessing still tried to put the blame, or some of the blame, on the wife, saying that she's the one that killed the daughters, which made him go into a fit of rage, and kill her. He was just trying to get off, more lightly. He didn't want all the blame on him, but that's ridiculous. That's also ridiculous to smear her name that way. I'm glad that they were able to figure out that it really didn't happen that way. That this guy is the one that murdered his two young daughters as well. Daughters that looked to him as a hero. They thought he was the best thing in the world. And turns out this dude was just terrible. He was the devil. The local authorities, they found the bodies of the Watts family on the property of his former employer on August 16th. He had been fired from the job on the 15th, the day of his arrest. The children's bodies were found hidden in the oil tanks. He shoved his little girls into some oil tanks. And if you look at the openings of those oil tanks, they're tiny. He must have just, without regard for their body, not that it mattered at that point, he just murdered them, but he just shoved them in there like trash, like dolls, like whatever. On the 21st, Watts was charged with 5 counts of first-degree murder, including an additional 1 count per child, cited as death of a child who had not yet attained 12 years of age, unlawful termination of a pregnancy, 3 counts of tampering with a deceased human body. Many of these crimes occur in August before school starts, which may delay detection and investigation. FBI profiler Candace DeLong cases such as Chris Watts are rare because family annihilators usually commit suicide after the murder. This dude did not commit suicide. He was looking to move on and start completely over with the mistress. I'm pretty sure he just wanted to clear the slate and be able to get married and have additional kids with this other lady. And then who knows what would happen to her years down the road when he didn't like her any longer. It says, from what I'm reading online, that Chris Watts actually contemplated a suicide out of guilt. I'm not sure I believe that. I think he maybe contemplated suicide just because he was caught and maybe felt shamed for a while. Let's see. In the interview with Dr. Phil, Watts' lawyer claimed that he confessed to killing his wife after an argument regarding divorce. During the murder, Bella walked in. Watts then told his daughter that her mother was sick. He loaded her body into the back of his work truck and his daughters, without car seats, into the back. I guess it doesn't matter at that point if he was not really worried about their safety. He wasn't going to use a car seat. He later smothered both children one after the other with a blanket in the back seat of his truck. That's just terrible. I can't even imagine just putting a blanket and whatever technique he used, probably his hand over their mouth and nose. Chris later confessed in a letter to Sherilyn Cadle that he attempted to smother his daughters first. However, after doing so, his daughters awoke from unconsciousness and discovered him with the wife wrapped in a sheet, at which point he told them that she was sick. Dude's sick. He's sick. This is nuts. Crazy. He pleaded guilty to the murders on November 6th after the investigators, the lady with the polygraph test, really, to me, and then the father showing up and going in there, and the father was able to get some additional information out of him. I'm not saying the father intentionally was doing that. I'm sure he's his dad and was hoping to hear as positive news as possible in this kind of situation from his son. But the son admitted to murdering his wife. The death penalty was not put forward by the district attorney on the request of the wife's family, who did not wish for any further deaths. Those people are bigger people than me. I want this dude freaking done. That's crazy. They're much better people than how I would react to that. The family was supportive of the decision to accept the plea deal. On November 19th, Watts was sentenced to 5 life sentences, 3 consecutive and 2 concurrent, without the possibility of parole. Funny thing on that is I keep hearing or reading online that this guy actually thinks he's going to get out with good behavior. No way. No way should this guy ever see the street again. I don't believe that they would let him out anyway, but this just tells you the way this guy thinks. He feels entitled, I suppose. So, yeah, he thinks he can get out with good behavior. He received an additional 48 years for the unlawful termination of his wife's pregnancy, and 36 years for 3 charges of tampering with a deceased body. On December 3rd, 2018, Watts was moved to an out-of-state location due to security concerns. On December 5th, 2018, he arrived at the Dodge Correctional Institution in, forgive me for murdering this name, Waupun, Wisconsin. Waupun, Wisconsin, to continue serving his life sentences. Sorry about that for anybody that lives there. I don't know how to say that name. But this guy, he's something else. Something else. I don't know if he was just a psychopath that just was always a psychopath and was able to control it within himself for so many years, and then finally when a certain situation presented itself, he just wasn't able to control himself any longer, or if something snapped, you know. I really don't know. You really don't know on something like this with this guy. He clearly had some crazy issues. You just wish he would have made the choice to just move on. You know, it would have been better if he would have just manned up and I don't know if even using the term man up is correct. Dude, just, you don't want to be in the marriage, just get out of the marriage. You want to go with this other lady, then go. But don't kill your family. Oh, she was 15 weeks pregnant. 15 weeks pregnant with a son. It's just nuts. It's just nuts to think about. So I just wanted to cover some of the more shocking portions of this. Not that the whole thing is not completely shocking, but you know, Watts was having an affair with a coworker. In June 2018, his wife, she went on an extended trip, like I said earlier. Actually, no, she went on an extended trip to visit her family in North Carolina. Chris struck up an illicit relationship with a colleague at his workplace. I won't say her name. I know it's everywhere. It's easy for you to find it if you go online. The mistress deleted Watts' contact info as well as her text and call logs from her phone before contacting the local police to disclose their affair. Clearly, she wanted to cover her tracks. Probably didn't seem like she was at fault or had any was guilty in any way of contributing to this. Relics from their relationship can be found in the discovery, including texts, love letters, phone logs, and photos of the two together on overnight trips. They used an app called Secret Calculator, never heard of that, to send each other nude selfies, private messages, and more. Sounds like Snapchat. I never heard of Secret Calculator. The mistress was not charged with a crime. She said that they only dated for a couple of months. She knew that he was married with kids, but he told her, I guess, that he was supposed to separate and get divorced. I don't know how to feel about this mistress. I'm not sure if she was more involved or not. I hate to cast judgment on anything. It could be that not that it's good for you to be doing what she did anyway, but hopefully she didn't have anything to do with encouraging the murder of the kids and the wife. That would be terrible. Um, I guess there's rumors that he had other extramarital encounters as well. Those haven't been verified, though. I don't know. Um, some male escort came out and said that he had some affair with Watts as well. Um, I don't know how true any of that is. I think those are all just rumors. Once stories get out, you know how they get sensationalized and all these other things come out. Without proof, it's hard to know if anything was true other than his mistress. It does show that she was the mistress was googling the wife's information, I guess, just wanting to find out more about her. She googled her in September of 2017, more than a year before the start of her affair. That's a little interesting. I guess she had Chris Watts on her radar even before the affair started, huh? Maybe before he even knew. It was reportedly, now I'm reading that it's supposed to be September of 2018. So strike what I just said. I'm reading online too as I go through all this stuff. So bear with me. I'm looking at the A&E website. So the mistress also searched anal sex, wedding dresses, and do people hate Amber Frey, as well as Frey's net worth and book deal. So maybe she was already thinking she was going to get some money, because Frey was the mistress of Scott Peterson, who is also convicted of killing his pregnant wife, Lacey, in 2004. Interesting. That's pretty interesting. So it looks like the wife fought to save her marriage. The wife felt an emotional distance to her husband, and she didn't want it to end. And she was happy for the most part, I suppose. She didn't detect anything where she thought this guy was going to turn into a complete psychopath. It shows here that she had plenty of interactions with her husband, trying to fix the disconnect that they were having at the time. One of Watt's replies was, "These kiddos are the light of my life, and seeing their sweet, incredible smiles and playfulness makes me smile every day. I'm sorry for the way I've been acting. It's just been in my head, and I haven't been right at all." Then the wife, I guess begging him for a reassurance. "If you are done, don't love me, don't want to work this out, not happy anymore, and only staying because of the kids, I need you to tell me." So she gave him his chance, basically. He didn't have to kill her. He could have just told her right there. Instead, he didn't want to. They are my light, and that will not change. I don't want to erase 8 years just like that. I'm not sure what's in my head. I don't know if it's my parents, the third pregnancy, if I'm just scared or what. That was his response. But she confessed to her girlfriends that she suspected he was having an affair, and that she wanted to fight for full custody if they did get divorced. She did order a relationship book called Hold Me Tight, and he threw that in the garbage. He pulled the girls out of school on the day of the murders. On the day of the murders, the discovery shows that Watts called his daughter's school. He told an administrator that the kids would no longer be attending there. He also called a realtor named, and I'm not going to say the realtor's name. Don't want to cast any more attention unnecessarily on people that don't want it, but it's online. You can Google it if you want. With the intention of selling the family home and downgrading to something smaller. When she suggested an option for him to check out, he said he would drive past it on his way home from work that day. So interesting that he pulled his kids out, like they weren't going to go to school anymore, and he was going to sell his house and downgrade. So he gets lots of fan mail in prison. That's the crazy thing to me about people is, somebody does something so crazy and these people become celebrities and have fans. Interesting to me. But it says he's received a pile of fan letters since he's been in prison. The letters consisted of personal letters from people asking to be pen pals, some media requests, and a couple, well, there's some hate mails in there too, so I guess there are some people that are trying to write him hatefully. Nothing of evidentiary value can be drawn from the correspondence. But the missives are fascinating for what they reveal about human behavior and our obsession with all things crime. What can I say about that? Here I'm making a video about it. For example, one woman who says she is serving a 13-year sentence for a high-profile financial crime writes to Watts, "I feel this connection to you because the coverage and assumptions of you and your case make me irritated for you." She then describes her height, weight, and body type. Wow. Another woman sends him a bikini shot. Wow. Crazy. So, I don't know what else to really say about this other than I just wanted to get on here and just vent it all out while I'm going through all this stuff, reading it, and I thought I would just make a video and discuss it. But this guy he's just a crazy dude. He just snapped. Either that or he was always nuts and just was able to conceal it, and finally it just was too much and it just came out. Anyhow, hope everyone out there has a fantastic day, and I guess we'll just keep reading stuff online.